Welcome back to the Everygirl podcast. Happy February, Everygirls. January kind of felt like the longest month ever. Did you feel like that too? I hope you really enjoyed the Best Self Challenge. I highly recommend you go back to those episodes at any point throughout the year when you need a little additional motivation. I think revisiting the Best Self Challenge or whatever episodes resonated with you at any point, like it does not have to be because it was January, at any point throughout the year, revisiting, staying connected to your goals will help so much. Like, I just don't want you to forget that the whole point of setting new year goals and resolutions and intentions and all the new year energy is not to, feel all that super excited motivation for 1 month and then totally forget about it. It is to actually change your life. Like, we are continuing to bring that energy into February and beyond. I promise, this is my vow to you. I promise to keep you motivated and inspired all year long. If you're with me and you want to stay motivated all year long, you want to continue to have these challenges and reconnections to your best self and your goals and your dream life, hit the subscribe button, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Subscribe, follow our show so that you don't miss an episode because 2026 is going to be a crazy year. Okay. I cannot wait for you to see what I have in store for you. So please hit the subscribe button, be my friend, follow along. With the start of February, that also means that it's time for our next monthly curriculum. If you are new here, first of all, welcome. I'm so excited to have you. I love you already. And second of all, let me introduce you to our monthly curriculum series. These are solo episodes that drop at the beginning of every month and are designed to be kind of like a life reset, a check in every single month. And basically, every single curriculum has a different theme, a different goal. And I give you a little lesson, if you will. And then I'll give you homework assignments, extra credit activities, things to do throughout the entire month to work toward that goal or to be in that energy and intention. It's basically, I think, way more effective than setting goals because you're getting this new intention and fresh energy and a different lesson every month for you to, at the end of the year, improve your life instead of just setting some goals you'll probably forget about. So think of these monthly curriculum episodes as your personal growth syllabus, but way cuter and more, I would say, emotionally validating than anything that you got in college. And since it's the month of Valentine's Day and love, of course, this month's theme is all about the most important relationship that we have in life, which is the one, of course, that we have with ourselves. So today we are talking about radical self love, which might sound a little cliche. Self love kind of sounds like something you've seen 800 times on Instagram graphics this time of year. But I promise you, it is the foundation of everything you want in your life, whatever goals you want to achieve. And it is the key to feeling happier and getting the life that you want. Whether you're looking to reconnect to or stay motivated with your resolutions, or whether you're craving something more meaningful this month than just heart shaped candy, or whether you're just trying to reconnect to yourself and what matters during this freezing winter and you're trying not to lose your mind, this episode will help you, I promise. This is not going to be an episode about affirmations or high fiving yourself in the mirror. I really hope to dive deep into psychology and neuroscience so you can apply what you learned today and see major change in your life. So get your notebooks out, girls. Class is in session. Now, first of all, I want you to think about all the ways that you currently do not love yourself. And this is not to make you spiral into negativity. I just want to show you how important this work is going to be for you. So think about the times where maybe, you look in the mirror and you hate the fat in your stomach, or you hate the way your hair looks, or you nitpick over a breakout or a certain feature you have. think about the thoughts that pop into your head sometimes about how you're not worthy of something, how you're not good enough for a raise, or you can't start your own business, or you're not good enough for a better relationship or better friends. Think about the moments where maybe you're mad at yourself. You said some embarrassing thing or you did something stupid. Those times where you're mad at yourself or you wish you acted different or you wish you looked different or were different. When you hate your body, when you hate the way that you look, you don't just feel bad when you look in the mirror, you shrink in your life. You start avoiding photos, you avoid events, you avoid being seen. You hold back from fully experiencing your life because some part of you believes you have to look different first. When you believe that you're not good enough, you don't apply for the job, you don't raise your prices, you don't start the business. You stay in the relationship that's fine instead of asking for the love that you deserve, or you spend your life never signing up for the dating app because you're telling yourself, I'm not good enough yet. You laugh off compliments, you downplay your dreams, you make yourself smaller in every sense so you don't risk failing, but also so you never actually win. Disliking yourself or disliking anything about yourself also means that you spend your life either performing or hiding instead of living. You edit your personality, you're overthinking every text. God, I've been there 1,000 times. You replay conversations at 2 a.m. You maybe become hyper aware and self conscious instead of feeling relaxed and present and full of joy. So you're actively holding yourself back from every desire that you want, from the big, happy, full life that you could live. So, this isn't just about feeling warm and fuzzy and we're supposed to love ourselves. This is about your ceiling in life. Self esteem is your ceiling. The relationship you have with yourself determines what you believe you deserve, what you're willing to go after, and ultimately the entire quality of your life and also the reality of your life. I have seen lack of self esteem hold people back thousands of times. If I had a nickel for every time confidence or self love or self esteem held someone back from the life that they were meant to live, like for example, if someone thinks, once I lose weight, then I will love my body. I have seen just in my coaching practice alone, probably 50 times at least, someone has come to me and said they want to lose weight, which I am not about shaming anyone for the goals that they want. I think weight loss can totally be a really healthy, beneficial goal for a lot of people. But then when we tease out, okay, what's the reason you want to lose weight? What's the why behind that goal? Often the reason is because then I will feel confident in myself. We have the order mixed up. Okay. You don't lose weight and then you love your body. You love your body. And then every time you lose weight as a byproduct because you know what your body deserves, your identity shifts and then your habits shift around you. Also, let's say if you do lose weight from a place of insecurity, you restrict and you bully yourself into weight loss, that will, without a doubt, be unsustainable. But let's just say, for argument's sake, you lose weight. But then you don't love yourself like you thought you would. You don't feel that, oh, now everything's better. Now I love myself. Now my life is complete like you thought you would. So your brain goes to cellulite, or your nose is too big, or your six pack isn't defined enough. And now it becomes once I don't have cellulite, or once I change my nose, or once I get a six pack, then I will love myself. And that cycle will never stop. And the same thing goes for anything in your life. You may think, getting a promotion at work will make you feel worthy or good enough, but that's the reverse order. It's actually you feel worthy or good enough, and that is what gets you the promotion. No one ever wants to believe me until they see it for themselves. Self love has to be the first step. And second of all, that self rejection is also self abandonment. When you don't love yourself, then you stop trusting your needs. You override your boundaries. You say yes when you mean no. And then over time, these habits become your identity. Maybe you start telling yourself, oh, I'm just bad at relationships. I'm not disciplined or I'm not motivated or I lack willpower. I'm not the kind of person who is successful or who gets what she wants. But none of this has to be reality. And none of that is your like core inherent personality. It is just what happens when someone lives for so long without being on their own side. That intuition, this like connection that we all have with ourselves is our greatest superpower. It's like having this wise mentor who knows every right decision to make with you at all times. It's incredibly important that you have a good relationship with her. So that's why this topic matters. Learning to truly love yourself doesn't just change how you feel when you look in the mirror, it changes what you allow, what you create, how fully you let yourself live. It changes everything about your life. That's why we're talking about this. And I, first of all, want you to know that it's not your fault to have these insecurities and these feelings and this self criticism or self hatred. And also, having these feelings does not validate that they are reality. Just because you think you're not pretty enough to be loved does not make that reality. Just because you think you're not as smart as your coworkers does not make that reality. We live in a world that profits off of us doubting ourselves. From the time we are little girls, we are both subtly and unsubtly taught that our value is conditional, that we are lovable when we are pretty, agreeable, thin, successful but not too successful, confident but not bitchy or intimidating, independent but still very chosen. We grow up in this culture that constantly evaluates women. Our worth is discussed in terms of how desirable we are, how productive we are, how well we perform whatever role we are handed. And when you live in this environment long enough, self criticism doesn't feel like conditioning, it feels like common sense. It feels like reality. Like, of course, we don't like ourselves. Look at magazine titles, look at trolls online, look at how critical people are of women, look how they pit us against each other. Of course, we don't love ourselves. No one taught us it was okay to. I mean, think about like even how we as women are so programmed to be, quote, selfless. Like mothers are supposed to be the ultimate selfless martyr. And we are taught to always think of others first, from how little girls play with baby dolls to how women subconsciously make themselves smaller on the subway in order to give other people more space. And don't get me wrong, that's not weakness, that's power. That innate care for other people is powerful shit. Like that is what we are supposed to be teaching little boys and men, not training out of ourselves. But when selfless is the optimal goal that women are supposed to strive for, and we're trained to believe that that is what will make us worthy, just think about it. Selfless, literally without self, selfless. We are not just programmed to be caring and empathetic to others, again, our superpower, but we are also programmed to give up ourselves in order to do it. And I actually think that's counterintuitive. I think that the more we are filled with self, the more deeply connected and in love with who we are, the more capacity and the more love we have to share with other people. Just think about that, by the way, in case that programming is telling you that self love or self care is selfish and frivolous, you know, to have that love for ourselves, that care for ourselves, that connection to ourselves is the single most productive and helpful thing we could possibly do. I'm not a mother yet, so I can't even imagine what it actually is like to go through life with the mom guilt. But I hope to God I have a daughter. I'd have like 10 of them if I could. I hope to show my daughter by example how to prioritize herself. And that starts with showing her that it's okay for me to prioritize me. These generations of mothers who were taught to be so selfless, to give up everything for their kids, raised people that didn't feel empowered to prioritize their own well being. And they gave up everything for other people. And that's where we are now. I would like to break the cycle. I would like to teach my daughters how to be okay with disappointing other people in order to avoid disappointing themselves, how to prioritize their needs, how to stay connected to themselves in a world that is constantly trying to program them out of it. This isn't accidental. It isn't just an accidental byproduct that we are all deeply insecure. Insecure women are profitable. Estimates show that women make or influence around 85% of consumer spending in this country. Women drive the consumer economy. And if you don't feel good about yourself, you buy the product. That's what our entire consumerist society in this country is built off of. You're not good enough as you are. So you need to buy and buy and buy in order to be more worthy, which of course, no one ever gets the feeling of worthiness or increased self esteem from actually buying anything. So you spend your life buying more and more and more because nothing is actually ever filling that up. Insecure women are easier to control. If you don't feel worthy, if you're taught that your worth depends on other people's affirmation of you, you will overwork. If you don't trust yourself, you're going to look outside of yourself for all of the answers and approval and permission. It makes it really freaking easy to control an insecure woman. Self doubt will keep you consuming and questioning, and self love will make you powerful. So, if you're thinking in this conversation that this feeling of self love or loving yourself feels uncomfortable or unnatural or performative, maybe even cringe, that doesn't mean that you're bad at it. That doesn't mean that you cannot get to a place where you really deeply love yourself. That's just the programming. Because self love, connection with self, is our most innate state. It's what you are meant to feel, it's what we're born with. But we've been taught and programmed so deeply to do the opposite. So, this episode is just about unlearning. And that's why I'm taking this month to teach you how to feel radical self love. I'm not talking about the watered down, pretty version of self love we see all over social media. Like, honestly, of all the self love content I've consumed personally, I don't think any of it really helped me love myself more. Self love is not a vibe or an aesthetic or an affirmation. It's also, I don't even think it's a feeling a lot of the time. It's actually a practice. It's an unlearning, it's a homecoming. I always say that love is a verb, not a feeling. And the same goes with self love. It's not a feeling you have, it's how you act, it's what you practice. So it's not this magical feeling where you're like, okay, I've changed everything I hate about myself. And now suddenly, oh, I'm supposed to magically feel that deep self love. It's not about not thinking negative thoughts in your head about yourself. It's about what you do with them and how you shift your life slowly to get rid of them. So, here are 5 practices, 5 hot girl habits to practice radical self love. Habit number 1 is to build self efficacy. If you listened to episode 235, the number one sign you're going to be successful, you are familiar with the concept of self efficacy. And if you haven't listened to that, I highly recommend going back, listening to that episode next. But self efficacy is not only, as research shows, the number one determining factor of your success in every goal, but it's also a cornerstone of self esteem. Psychologists call self efficacy your belief in your own ability to follow through. And research shows that self efficacy is actually one of the strongest predictors of self esteem. So, in other words, if you want to love yourself more, start by trusting yourself more, knowing that you'll keep your own promises to yourself. If you have a friend who always cancels last minute, do you trust her? Do you feel safe with her? Probably not. But if you have a friend who shows up every time she says she will, on the good days, on the messy days, you feel grounded in that relationship. You feel connected to that relationship, right? Same thing goes with the relationship with yourself. If you are constantly breaking promises to yourself, if you say you're going to wake up early, start a project, stop talking to your ex, and then you don't follow through, your brain will start to believe that you're not reliable. That voice in your head starts to say, see, I can't even trust myself. And that literally erodes self love. But the good news is that the reverse is also true. When you follow through on anything, big or small, you are telling your brain, I can count on me. I keep promises to myself. Confidence really, I think a helpful definition of it is that it just means that you can trust your own word. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. The power of self efficacy is that it creates this loop. So when you follow through with a promise, that builds self trust. Self trust builds confidence. The confidence builds self love. And then that motivates more follow through because you believe yourself when you say you're going to do something. And that makes you more likely to actually do it. So it's this like endless, lovely cycle, increasing your self love, your self confidence, your self connection because you're building the self efficacy. So, if radical self love feels like this far off destination to you, here is your way in. Start really freaking small. Set just one tiny promise to yourself today and then keep it. That's it. That's all you have to do. You are going to drink one glass of water before eating lunch. You're not going to send the text to your ex. You're not going to check your phone for an hour. Start with something so small that you know you can follow through on it to begin to build that muscle and do that repeatedly every day. And you will begin to trust yourself, and that will change your self esteem. Habit number two is to fall in love with yourself through your inner child. I know that maybe this sounds like it's coming from your therapist. I feel like it sounds like very like 90s therapy. But in my opinion, this right here is the most powerful way to practice radical self love. So think back again on those times where you didn't love yourself so much. Maybe you're spiraling over a text someone didn't send and you're saying, oh, of course they didn't text you back. It's because you're not pretty enough or you're not funny enough or whatever. Or maybe you're criticizing your body in the mirror. Maybe you're just feeling like someone doesn't like you or you're not worthy of something. When that happens, when those thoughts come up, it's really easy to feel like that emotion is rooted in who you are now, but those feelings, all of them, the unworthiness, the not being liked, the self criticism, these aren't actually coming from the present version of you. They're coming from a younger version. These are always old feelings that never got healed, that your nervous system holds on to and gets constantly re-triggered in our lives now. So this practice is just about giving those feelings an age, very similar to what I did if you listened to my episode with Gabrielle Bernstein from last week and the exercise that she walks me through. Basically, when something triggers a deep insecurity or a fear, pause and first of all, name the feeling. Is it unworthy? Is it unloved? Is it fear of failing? And then ask yourself, when do I remember first feeling like this? And maybe give yourself just a minute to see what memories come up. I found that something always comes up. Then, when you have these memories and you identify when you first felt this unworthiness or lack of love or failing and it feeling really scary, it's all of a sudden no longer present day you staring in the mirror, hating your body. It's 11-year-old you feeling judged by her mother. It's no longer present day you feeling like you're not worthy of a raise. It's 5-year-old you feeling unwanted by her dad. This insecurity, this thought in your head actually came from 8-year-old you who was excluded from a sleepover. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between past and present when it comes to emotional pain. It just knows this feels familiar. And when you've never had the chance to process or heal those original wounds, as most of us haven't, your present self ends up reacting with the intensity of that much younger version of you because that part of you is still waiting to feel seen or safe or validated. I think that every single insecurity or any lack of self love, feelings of unworthiness, whatever, always comes from a younger version of ourselves. And how much different does that feel? When you identify that actually this feeling like, I look so ugly, everyone else looks so much prettier than me is actually coming from this 8-year-old, this little 8-year-old girl who was taught that she was not worthy. It feels so different, doesn't it? It changes the thought completely. Instead, you wanna love her and tell her, "Oh my god, no, you're perfect as you are. You're so beautiful. You're amazing." You wanna hug that little 8-year-old girl. Just think about her. What does she need from you? Maybe once you identify the age, you wanna ask her, what does she need to feel loved or worthy or validated? Maybe the change is really just being able to approach your feelings with this compassion, with this empathy for this little girl. I look in the mirror and I think, yeah, I could probably afford to lose a few pounds. And that's not me, present day me having that thought. It's not. It feels like it is, but what it actually is maybe 8-year-old me. When I first really became aware of, I would say, the way that I look compared to other people, when I remember boys in my class starting to talk about who was pretty and who was not, when I started to realize how my siblings were very small and I felt bigger than them. And like, that's that little girl having that thought. That's not me. And I don't wanna listen to that thought and be like, "Yeah, I am so ugly, I look awful." Like, no, I don't wanna lean into that. I wanna say, "Oh my god, you sweet little lovely Josie. No, no, you're perfect. You are perfect. You have no idea yet, but you are perfect." Now instead of, "Ugh, I'm so awkward and weird around people," it's now your heart is breaking for this little girl who was told that she wasn't enough, who was told that she doesn't fit in. And that is how you kind of, I think, distance yourself from any insecurity and then end up healing it because you identify where it's actually coming from. Radical self love, I think, means becoming the one who finally gives the younger version of you the love that they needed. Those little things that totally change the game in your relationship, like little acts of service or uninterrupted time together? Add a KY, yours and mine, to that list. Lube is not about fixing anything, it's about enhancing what's already there. KY knows that lube is a powerful, confidence building part of intimacy, and their yours and mine lube increases comfort and enhances experience for both partners. Think warming for you, tingling for them, and long lasting moisture that supports comfort, ease, and connection. Whether you're deepening intimacy this Valentine's Day or just investing in a little extra spark this season, if you know, you know. Learn more about KY, yours and mine, at k-y.com. That's k-y.com. Habit number 3 is to be super strategic about where you put your focus. One of the most transformational conversations I've ever had on the podcast was with self-esteem expert Dr. Simone Alicia, also known as the Self-Esteem Doctor. That was episode 100, titled Confidence is the Key to Manifestation with the Self-Esteem Doctor. One of the most powerful things that she said was that emotions are like seeds. Whatever emotions you water begin to grow. So if you focus on the bad, how you compare yourself to others, flaws that you dislike about yourself, mistakes that you've made, it will start to grow like a garden of weeds in your mind. She really explains it like self-esteem is just a matter of focus, where we are giving our attention and how much of our attention we're giving. So, in other words, self-esteem actually has nothing to do with how we look, how much we've accomplished, how much other people like us, how many followers we have on Instagram. It's about what you're choosing to focus on, moment to moment, day by day. If your attention is constantly going toward everything that you think is wrong with you, what you wish was different, or how you compare to other people, then of course your self esteem is going to suffer. You are watering weeds. And when you keep watering the weeds, they will take over the whole freaking garden. But the opposite is also true. If you intentionally choose to water the seeds of your strength, your resilience, your progress, the things that you're proud of, the things that you like about yourself, then those grow. Your garden starts growing a lot more buds and flowers when you're watering those instead of the seeds. So, for example, the next time a unkind thought or unconfident thought about yourself pops up, whether, it's about your appearance, your work, your relationships, anything, don't just try to like shove it down or ignore it, but you don't have to feed it either. You can kind of acknowledge the thought without indulging in it, without making it mean anything. You can also replace it with something that is true and positive that you would want to water instead. The thought comes up of, oh, I'm so stupid. I messed up on this thing for work. Okay, notice the thought. You don't have to believe it, you don't have to lean into it. You can instead replace it with a bud or a flower. And I don't mean it has to feel like something that's really untrue. I don't mean replace it with, I am the best worker at my company and I am super successful if that doesn't feel true for you. But maybe something that would feel more true and more positive would be, you know what? Actually, I am growing a lot here. I'm here to make mistakes and to grow and learn. And I don't want to be 100% perfect at my job because that means I'm not being challenged. That's good. That means I'm growing. You can choose what you want to water. You really can. You have control over it. Choose a different thought instead. Or if that feels like too much, you can just kind of gently redirect your attention elsewhere. I'm so stupid at work. Okay, let me just focus on what do I want for lunch? Like, even just shifting the thought to a different topic still means that you're no longer watering that weed. Visualization can be another really powerful way to shift your focus. We so often visualize worst case scenarios without realizing it. Like, we're imagining, what if I fail? What if I sound stupid? What if they don't like me? So instead, flip it. Ask, what if it goes right? What if I crush this presentation? What if I look absolutely amazing in this outfit and everyone is gagged at how great I look? What if this person that I'm going on the date with actually really likes me? And then visualize that outcome. If you guys listen to the podcast a lot, you know probably that I am fascinated by learning from all these insanely confident women how they become so confident. And a really common answer that I've gotten is visualization. When I interviewed Andrea Canning, the Dateline queen, I asked her how she shows up to every interview, every live on air, like millions of people are watching her. How does she have so much confidence in those moments? And you know what she said? That beforehand, she visualizes it all going great. Like, she visualized how she knew her stuff, everything she was reporting on. She leaves the live recording and everyone's saying, Andrea, you did a great job. That was such a great segment. I think this is actually the biggest difference between the most confident people and the least confident people. The least confident people are visualizing, what if I fail? Or what if they hate me? And the most confident people are visualizing, what if I succeed? Or what if they love me? Mimi Bouchard, a friend of show, is a huge proponent of visualization, visualizing the outcome that you want, like visualizing a meeting going great, visualizing getting up the second your alarm goes off and having a killer workout. And she swears by this for manifestation, but I think it's also a helpful tip to build confidence because you're watering flowers instead of weeds. Your mind is going to be visualizing something. It's better the best case scenario than the worst case scenario. You can build a better relationship with yourself just by deciding where to focus your attention and whether to water weeds or flowers and buds. Practice number 4 is to not take your insecurities so seriously. Again, confidence is not about lack of insecurities, it's about how you respond to them. Insecurities will inevitably pop up. Even if you meditate daily, go to therapy, drink chlorophyll water, do a workout every day, listen to every self help podcast out there, you are still going to have moments where your brain says, "Ugh, I don't look good today," or, "Oh, that was such a dumb thing to say," or, "They probably don't like me." But just because a thought shows up does not mean that you have to take it seriously. Most of us treat our insecurities like a boss walking into the room. We stand at attention, we listen intently, we assume that they know something that we don't know. But what if your insecurities are actually instead more like drunk girls in the bathroom at 2 a.m.? They're loud, they're dramatic, they're not actually grounded in reality. You can hear them out and listen to them, probably entertaining, and still not let them drive the car. In fact, that would be irresponsible to let them drive the car. Your insecurities are the drunk girls in the bathroom at 2 a.m., not the boss. That is what radical self-love is to hear the thought, but don't obey it. I have a practice that I use constantly, and it is literally just 2 words. So what? Whenever an insecurity pops in my head, I immediately say those words. I look so bloated today. So what? I sounded so dumb in that meeting. So what? I'm not doing enough. I'm not being productive. So what? And it's not about pretending that you don't care or negating your feelings. It's about remembering that these thoughts don't actually matter. Like, who cares if I look bloated today? Literally, who cares? Who cares? No one. Who cares if I sounded dumb in that meeting? How many times do other people say something that I don't think twice about, right? It is a reminder that these thoughts don't get to dictate how you feel about yourself or how you live your life. They are just our old programming, they're passing clouds. Another phrase I like to say to myself is, it's just life. It's not that serious. When I feel anxious or embarrassed or insecure, reminding myself of that helps me zoom out. It's just life. It's not that serious. It's meant to be enjoyed. I'm not here to perform perfectly. I'm not here to look perfect or even care about looking perfect. I'm here to experience, to grow, to feel, to laugh, to connect. And if I spend the whole time, my whole life, obsessing over how I look or what people think, I miss the actual living part. Self love doesn't mean never having insecurities. It means having them, but not giving them a microphone and a spotlight and a Netflix special. It means recognizing the thought and then deciding to keep living anyway, not listening to it, to go to the dinner, to go on the date, to post the photo, to go to the workout, to say the thing, to keep showing up yourself, even when those insecurities tell you not to. And practice number 5 is to become more you. In our world, individuality is not always rewarded. I mean, remember going through school where you would be made fun of or bullied for being any amount different? Like, I literally remember when I was little, my aunt, who I'm super close to, worked at my preschool. And at 4 years old, I refused to call her Aunt Emily at school. I only called her Mrs. Kaiser, like all the other kids. I mean, I don't think in the 4-year-old preschool class I was going to get bullied for having an aunt at my school. Like, kids are still learning to not pee their pants. I don't think I was worried about the bullying. But at even 4 years old, I was so aware of and so scared of being different. Even now as an adult, though I think that we validate individuality a little bit more than when we were back in school, we're still deprogrammed out of being ourselves in so many ways. Maybe you've been in a certain role, like maybe you're the responsible one or you're the funny one. Your entire identity is built around this one role. We spend so much of our lives trying to be liked, accepted, validated. We shapeshift in relationships. I certainly did that. Even such a small example, but I think it actually is a big thing. Like, my high school boyfriend loved R&B and rap. So I really thought I loved R&B and rap, and that was mostly what I was listening to, whether I was with him or not. A guy I was casually seeing in college liked alternative music. So I was like, "Okay, I really love alternative," and I wanted to be that cool artsy girl. I couldn't tell these guys that the only music that I would choose to listen to is Broadway and Taylor Swift. So I suppressed these parts of myself, even when I was alone, to subconsciously shapeshift to what I thought they wanted. I think that we do that in a lot of ways in a lot of different relationships. We also edit ourselves at work. Most of us spend most of our waking hours at our jobs, and we typically edit ourselves in those environments. We soften our edges or we tone down our brilliance to be more palatable, or maybe we're more chill or whatever we think other people want. And we think subconsciously or not that if we are loved by others, then we will love ourselves. Or maybe for you, it's just this cultural juggernaut. Is that the right way to use that word? I don't think I've ever used that word in normal speech, but maybe it's this culture that has convinced you to become like other people. Social media, tells us what's trending. I mean, think about how many of the same interior design styles or the same outfits you see through just one social media scroll. Wellness trends tell us what our routines are supposed to look like or what health is supposed to mean to us. Every scroll, every what's your aesthetic quiz, every Pinterest mood board, it makes it harder to hear our own voice under the noise. We have been so programmed to take inspiration from others to fit into acceptable molds to prove that we are worthy through aesthetics or ambition or likability that sometimes we forget who we were before the world told us who to be. So, this might be one of the most important self love tips I'll ever give you, and also one of the hardest ones. You can't love yourself more if you are actively trying to become someone else. In fact, I think a huge reason why we don't love ourselves is because our actions don't actually align with our own truth. I love the definition of self love that it is actually self alignment, living in alignment with our truest, most authentic selves when our daily lives and choices reflect who we really are. My favorite Glennon Doyle quote, I share it anytime I can, is from her book Untamed. And she's talking about a conversation that she had with her daughter where her daughter was worried about disappointing her by quitting a school sport or something. And Glennon says to her, your job is to disappoint as many people as it takes to avoid disappointing yourself. Hear that again, because I needed to hear this, and maybe you do too. Your job is to disappoint as many people as it takes to avoid disappointing yourself. And her daughter asks, even you? And Glennon responds, especially me. This stuck with me forever because it is such an important lesson that disappointing other people, including people that we love and that love us, is not always such a bad thing. It is actually our job to do everything it takes to avoid disappointing ourselves. So, if you've felt disconnected from yourself or unsure of how to begin to love yourself, make a list of your qualities, your passions, the things that make you feel alive. What do you love doing? Not just because you're good at it or it looks impressive or because it's trendy or cool, but because it feels like you. What are the quirks or the traits that you might have muted over time in order to fit in, but feel so you? Like, what do you think the people who know you best, how do you think they would describe you? What are the dreams or hobbies or interests or those random little obsessions that used to light you up that you maybe don't make as much time for anymore? What is your favorite animal? What's your favorite movie? Why? Make a list of all of these things that feel like you. And once you have that list, the practice is very simple, but it's radical. Do more of it. Fill your schedule, your relationships, your routines with more of your you-ness. If you're a hopeless romantic, let yourself be that unapologetically. If you are hilarious and have a great sense of humor, bring that humor into your work meetings, into your morning routine. If you are deeply empathetic, lead with that softness instead of hiding it. And also let go of what's not you. Say no to the friendships that don't align with you. Let go of the goals that don't actually feel authentic. Quit the side hustle that's taking you further away from yourself. The more space you create, the more room there is for you to show up. And obviously, the biggest benefit is how you feel in yourself, how you feel in your life. But I will say, as a little added benefit, if it helps motivate you, when I met my now fiance, I was in such a IDGAF place in my life, and I was so uninterested in being in a relationship. I was across the ocean in Paris when we started talking. That story is on a different episode. So I didn't care whether or not he liked me. I told him how I only listened to Frank Sinatra and Taylor Swift and Broadway music, and I only like rom-coms and reality TV, and I don't eat meat, and all the anti-cool girl things that I was programmed to think men didn't like. I mean, on our first date, I actually talked to him about how I like to wear 3/4 length sleeves because it makes my wrists look dainty. Like, that was a real conversation we had. I could not have word vomited man repelling uncoolness any better, and it made him obsessed with me, and here we are. So I always like to give that advice when talking about dating, but I think it applies to everything in our lives. And it always reminds me of this Shel Silverstein poem called Masks. I love this poem so much. I'm going to recite it to you. Okay. This is like Every Girl podcast, open mic night. Ahem. All right. Oh my God. I feel so unserious to recite this poem, but I'm going to do it. Okay. She had blue skin, and so did he. He kept it hid, and so did she. They searched for blue their whole life through, then passed right by and never knew. And there's a drawing of these two little creatures wearing masks, and they're blue underneath, and they're trying to find people like them, but because they're both hiding it, they never find each other. I want you to show off your blueness. Taking off my mask not only subconsciously made me love myself more, but also attracted the right person to me. He might not have liked me so much if I did the same thing that I did with every previous relationship and pretended to like EDM because I knew that he liked EDM. Or if I didn't talk about how I like to wear 3/4 length sleeves or how I cry when I watch reality TV. I don't think he would love me so much if he didn't know those things. And it's not just about relationships with other people. I really believe when you lean into your you-ness, the best possible life for you finds you. That's with jobs, with opportunities, with friendships, everything. So, radical self love is unlearning everything you were told you had to be and coming home to who you really are. Okay, so now that we have this lesson plan, let's talk about your homework. Homework assignment number one is to write a love letter to yourself about the things that are the most you. I want you, like I was just saying, to identify the traits, qualities, interests, desires that are the most authentic to you. So do that list that I talked about and maybe turn it into a love letter to yourself so you can come from a place of appreciation. I love how you cry at commercials. I love that you are so passionate about penguins. Those are two facts about me that I bet you never knew. Homework assignment number two is to keep a photo of yourself as a child where you can see it every single day. Maybe you keep it in your wallet, on your bedside table, at your desk, wherever. And every day, I want you to tell her to look at that picture and mentally say to her, or out loud, whatever you feel, tell her, I got you. I love you. I got your back. And just this quick little check in with your childhood self every day will make it a lot easier when you do the exercise I talked about earlier, where you get triggered and identify how old the insecurity is. It's just reconnecting with your inner child will make a huge difference. And then let's talk about some extra credit, okay, for my overachievers. Number one is to keep a me mood board or vision board. This is not your typical vision board where it's focused on your goals and what you want out of the year. This is all about just getting to know you, who you are right now. Even it doesn't have to be like who you are in this life, but like who are you right now? So you can build a Pinterest board. It can be a camera roll album, maybe just like a spread in your journal that is photos and quotes and outfits, aesthetics, memories, jokes. I don't know, anything that feels like you. When you forget who you are, as we are programmed to, going about our day to day lives, this becomes your reminder. And then one more extra credit assignment if you really want to go crazy on this, okay? And that is to stop making any goals and instead make promises to yourself. Going back to practice number one of building self efficacy, I want you to reframe any goal that you ever make, anything from you want to launch your business this year to you want to show up to your workout today. Phrase it instead as a promise you are making to yourself. It's not a goal, it's a promise. Better yet, it's a promise that you are making to that little girl in the photo that you're going to be looking at every day. And when you decide you want to scroll on your phone less, or you're going to sign up for a dating app, phrase it as a promise you are making to yourself or a promise to younger you who deserves follow through on your promise. Content to consume. If you're new here, I always give you some ideas for books, things to watch to take this theme into the entire month because, again, it's a monthly curriculum. Okay, we're diving deep. What to read this month. Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Like I quoted before, this book was the beginning of so many aha moments for me. And so much of it is just about reclaiming your authenticity and your sense of self. So I highly recommend reading that one. The book More Than Enough by Elaine Weltworth is a great one as well. If you're interested in themes of career and ambition and your journey with self love can often show up in tandem with your career, as I think a lot of ours can. That's a good one as well. What to watch. The movie How to Be Single, which is that comedy with Dakota Johnson and Rebel Wilson, it's really funny. And, it's easy to brush it off as like a quirky rom com. But I think that that movie does such a genius job at showing what a real life self love journey, if you will, really looks like and learning how to live with yourself and for yourself instead of for someone else. So, no matter what your relationship status is, I think that's a great movie to watch. It's interesting though, too. Like, you wouldn't think it on the surface, or maybe you would, but so many movies, especially starring good female leads, have self love at the root of it. So, you can pick a lot of options that speak to you. Eat, pray, love. If you're maybe at a point where you are not choosing you, you don't know what it is like to choose you or to choose your own life anymore. You're so disconnected from yourself. That movie is always inspires me to be like, damn, I can make some changes in my life. The Barbie movie, oh, I swear, the Barbie movie can be applied to any and every theme. Every time someone watches the Barbie movie, an angel gets its wings, but it's a literal manifesto about existential self-worth, identity, finding purpose out of perfection. So that's a great one. Even good old-fashioned Legally Blonde is actually a genius masterclass in radical self-love because Elle succeeded. She won the case. She became a lawyer. She even ended up with a great guy, but she did not get all that changing herself. We have a dime a dozen of these makeover movies from the 80s and 90s that you get rid of your glasses and your curly hair, and then somehow your life is so much better. We have so many of these movies. I love Legally Blonde, obviously, for so many reasons, but it is actually genius in that, you see her character arc of Elle starts to dress in black and she's acting more serious. She's wearing glasses. Like she's trying to fit in at law school and she's building confidence through that, I think. Like she's feeling like, oh, my identity is not just like being this dumb blonde that's hot. I actually have more to me. And that's building her confidence. So that's great. And I think the writers could have had that be Elle's character arc is she learned she was so much more than a dumb blonde and so much more than just her looks. She became this like serious lawyer. The genius of the movie is that at the turning point of the movie for the final trial, I don't think anyone listening has never seen Legally Blonde, but if you haven't, you probably are like, what in the world are you talking about? If you haven't, please go watch it. My God. But you guys know what I'm talking about, right? At the trial, she comes in all pink, looking iconic Elle Woods head to toe. She's being herself. And not only is it just about how she looks, but the thing that won the case was the knowledge she has about hair perms. That's the happy ever after is her being herself, fully dressed in pink, caring about hair perms, radical self-love. So at your next movie night, pick any of these movies or any others that you think of that teaches you a little something about radical self love and what it really means to be connected to self. That is your monthly curriculum for February. Please let me know what you think about this format or this month's theme in the Spotify comments or Apple Podcast reviews. Tell me which tip you want to try or what resonated with you the most. If you think this is cheesy, I get that. And you can share that with me too. Your feedback is so important for me to know what resonates with you and what you want more of. And by the way, writing a review and commenting on Spotify or YouTube, it also is what helps me get bigger guests for you. So if you want me to continue bringing you content that makes a difference for you, that you enjoy, it is imperative that you leave a review because that is what helps me do that. I'm going to give you a bonus extra credit for my real overachievers, my teacher's pets. You're all my pets, okay? You're all my favorite students. But your extra credit is to share this episode with another woman in your life who would benefit from this episode. Healing truly happens in community. So use it to start conversation, maybe help someone else who needs to hear this right now. Thank you all so much for listening. I love you so very much. Happy February and welcome to your self-love era. You are exactly where you're meant to be. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I sure did. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really makes a huge difference for our show so we can keep growing and bringing the content that you love. If you want more info, you can find us at the Everygirl Podcast on Instagram or theeverygirlpodcast.com. Talk to you next week.